Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fail to Find, an MTG podcast brought to you by Bathroom Brews MTG. I'm your host, Ben,
And I'm Wes.
and thank you for tuning in to another episode. Before we get into the main topics, I just want to say thanks for choosing this podcast. If you can go ahead and give us a like on whatever platform you're listening to, it really helps out. And then let us know if any feedback you have for the episode. Today, we'll be talking about the Lord of the Rings precons, how they've done in their pods, and our overall thoughts on them. Uh, so, without further ado, let's get into it. So we're gonna start with the Jeskai one, which is Eowyn, which is helmed by Eowyn the Shield Maiden. It's Riders of Rohan. This is the precon that I picked up in our group because all of us, all I guess five of us, but two of us picked up the same deck.
Yeah.
And it was this one. Um, I've played it about 9 or 10 times at this point. Some in full pods of the Lord of the Rings precons, and then some with other decks in the mix. My overall impressions of this deck are really high for a precon, and it's what I told my best friend to pick up as he's getting into Magic. It has a lot
Ah,
of yeah. Well, here's my thought process. I always find Typal decks to be very easy to pick up as your first deck because it's straightforward, right? You just want to play all of one creature type.
the synergies are clear.
Yes, it's not like you're building a storm deck where you need to understand how rituals interact and like keeping track of storm and all that other, which sounds easy if you've been playing Magic for as long as we have, which is a combined probably 30 years. Um, But when
Uh,
someone's been
I
playing
think
it for
so,
2
actually.
months. Yeah. Yeah, I think we've played you and I together have played a total of 30 years.
Yeah,
Um,
it's you more than me, technically.
yes, not much, like, but that's that's a whole other topic. Um,
This deck is like typal decks because you just read the card and it like helps you go like this is a human, so it goes with these other humans, and since it has a good effect, and this one makes it easier to get that effect onto the board or buffs it because it is a human. It just makes the lines very easy to read. There isn't like, oh, it's a sorcery, but all these other things are sorceries. Do other sorceries go with these sorceries? Not always the case. But human, this makes humans easier. So this good human is easier to use.
yep, and I think what's really great about decks like this is they put obvious cards in for you to cut, especially if you're a newer player that you're like you feel smart when you have that click happen where you're like, "Oh, so for example, there's Dearly Departed, Grey Host Reinforcements, and Gimli of the Glittering Caves, all three of which are not humans in a human deck. So those were my first three cuts when I was making upgrades to the deck.
Yeah.
Um,
But the cool thing about those cards, except for like Dearly Departed, well, specifically Gimli, is like this is a card that's like, oh, this is a cool card, but not for this deck. So maybe
yes,
I'll build a new deck that focuses on treasure tokens and things like that,
exactly. So the deck as
or
base, because I played
legendaries.
it, yeah, I played the deck a few times as a base deck, and I really enjoyed it. The thing I think it struggles with the most is not a ton of ramp in this deck. Your curve stops at 6 essentially with Champions of Minas Tirith and Dearly Departed, but there's only 7 pieces of ramp, and you have Increasing Devotion, which is 9 mana if you flash it back, and Visions of Glory, which is 10 mana if you flash it back. So there are definitely very actually it's not 10. I'm sorry. It actually is only 5 mana to flash it back because it costs X less for your commander's mana value. But that's been my biggest issue is just the lack of ramp, but I don't have an issue getting lands into play. It's just ramping, if that makes sense, because the Monarch lets you draw a lot of cards, and your commander draws you cards. Um, and you have what is it? Not Herald's Horn, Vanquisher's Banner. You have
Yeah,
Herald's Horn to look at the top. You have Path of Ancestry to scry stuff. So it's definitely a good deck, a good aggro deck because it keeps your hand like full of power. But you're just not. I don't find it to be. I don't find you ramping often with it.
yeah, and your two like main options as a commander inherently have draw.
Yep.
So it's like you just get to fuel yourself even faster than like this deck. Also, just inside of it has good draw. Like, but if you're using either one of them, you're gonna be drawing some cards.
Yeah, I definitely think Aragorn is the other commander you can use out of the box, is the weaker face commander. Aragorn, I think, is a really good monarch commander if you build around that mechanic specifically. I find it very, at least the few times I've played it with Aragorn at the helm, and it could very well be the games I've played him in, he felt weak in comparison to Eowyn, where there was never a time I wanted to get the monarch because I would lose it immediately the next turn and then have no way of really getting it back.
Yeah, I think he's more of, if he's your commander for this deck, what you want to do is you have the turn where you build up your board, and then you hold strong, hold the line, and then you play him out the turn you want to kill everyone. He's a finisher in your command zone as opposed to a commander that you're playing. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no,
Which is
that's a
just a
good way of
different play
approaching it.
style.
Yeah, that's a good way of
Um,
approaching that because I definitely wouldn't have thought about that as a. It's like Jetmir Nexus of Revels, where
yeah.
you don't play it for value, you play it as a overrun effect. So yeah, if you get a critical mass of tokens and you play it, and then you can just swing in.
Yep.
m-
You can just
My,
kill somebody the turn you play Aragorn. If you've got like, I don't know, you've got your Door of Destinies and maybe it only has like 2 counters on it, but you've got like 7 tokens. You just like play your Aragorn, become the monarch, swing in, deal somebody 14 damage. Like
yeah,
that could at a certain stage of the game just kill somebody. And that's not even like a crazy board state. It's just
yeah, th-
like
th-
he's there as a kill switch to kill somebody, not a, like, you don't play him on turn 4.
yeah. Also, you could do like Jeskai Voltron with him, because
Good.
he's a 4 mana 4/4 vigilance lifelinker. So pardon me, you already have the vigilance keyword there, which is really good on Voltron commanders, and you can prevent something with like Death Touch from blocking it. Jeskai has great support for Voltron with Stoneforge Mystic, Pure Steel Paladin, Sigarda's Aid. Uh, and there
Yeah,
are some really good equipment in this set too. So you could do a Voltron like Monarch deck, where as long as you're, even if you lose the Monarch like on your turn, as long as you can get it back that following turn, you also have card draw in the command zone.
yeah, and you not only have access to White's equipment package of stuff, you have blue red, which is
Yep.
just going to like fuel you any artifact synergies that you have. And it also gives you more access to like haste enablers, like you can get the rabbits from Kamigawa. And that's just like
Oh,
an
yep.
equipment creature. Basically, just suit him on to him. Boom, he's got haste now. Uh,
Yeah.
and just get in.
Yeah, and then I'm trying to remember. Dang. Okay. I was looking for 4 Mirrodin. I don't remember if it made human rebels or rebels, but it's just rebels. Because if it made
Just
human
rebels.
rebels, that would be
That'd be,
flavorful.
oh
That'd
yeah,
be
that'd be
cool.
just a cool package to have. Like you could like build this deck towards that way. But instead, yeah, like I think you could build a really cool Voltron deck for him. Like just giving him haste on a turn, or if you could also build like a blink deck, I guess. And like repeat you become the monarch trigger on creatures.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of cool things you could do with this deck for sure. Um Overall, I think if you're newer to Magic, this might be one of the cheaper ones to pick up too from like TCG player at this point. If you can get your hands on this, I would highly recommend it. It's a really fun deck. Has some pretty good reprints in it. You have Combat Celebrant, Doors of Destiny, Supreme Verdict, all really good cards. Same thing
Yeah,
with like Vanquisher's Banner is going up. His a card that's always been like kind of expensive, and the mana base I think has been uh the biggest shock to me in how good the mana base feels. Uh, I only put in a Triome that I had the Jeskai Triome because I've wanted to put into a deck for so long. But other than that, I've kept it stock and it's performed really well, especially if you can get a Weathered Wayfarer out like turn 1 and you're not on the play. Being able to just every turn just search for a command tower, search for an exotic orchard, or whatever like land you need to fix yourself is really good.
yeah. It just like they really understood that this deck is color positioned specifically mostly Boros, and then like
Yeah,
you're splashing blue. Like blue's
yeah,
there to like represent some extra card draw that you have, or like the control magic effect that you have, or just even Supreme Verdict. Like, just doing that, kind of nice. It also means, like, you can build out in a whole other color direction if you want to, but you then have to change your mana base.
Yeah, there are only 8 blue cards I'm counting in the deck.
Mm-hmm.
Fealty to the Realms, Supreme Verdict, Prince Imahar the Fair, Faramir, Boromir, Archivist of Gondor, Denethor Stoneseer, Aragorn, and the Commander. So 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, only 9 blue cards. So
Which
you,
I think is a good, like, deck building lesson. Like, you can just splash a color. It can
yeah,
just kind of be there. Uh, and to do that in a precon is kind of nice.
yeah, there are some cards I wish they put in, but I understand why they didn't because you need to be able to like you want to be able to upgrade the deck.
Yeah.
One of them was you just mentioned it, and I already forgot the name of it. It was blue card draw for your humans.
Oh, mass appeal.
Mass appeal. Yep. Distant melodies, same thing. Where there's definitely some of that typal support in blue that you can throw in here, and you'd be pretty happy with it. But I
Yep.
understand why they didn't is because then it gives you room to upgrade the deck yourself, so you can find those supportive pieces.
Correct. And you don't want it to like people forget this, but for a like pre-constructed pod, basically, you don't want to do something too good in one of these decks. Which is something they definitely learned over time.
Yes.
Uh, but like putting mass appeal in might be too good in this kind of like token style deck in like a basic pod because you're likely to draw 10 cards off a single card instantaneously, and that's huge. That's so powerful in a pre-constructed pod just
Yep.
to be able to like do that. And this deck doesn't have any way of like keeping its hand size, and that can kind of be a bummer for new players.
Yeah. I mean, there's a thought vessel, but there's no like reliquary tower, I don't think, in the deck,
Oh
and there
yeah,
probably shouldn't be. Yeah,
yeah,
there's
there
not.
is a thought vessel. I didn't see that. Maybe
Yep.
okay, but still,
Um,
it's one of those things where you don't necessarily want to do that to a new player, and teaching them to like not overextend is sometimes smart.
yeah, it's 'cause the other thing that would be good if you end up like adding those cards is cutting a land and finding room for a reliquary tower, especially with weathered wayfarer who can just tutor it up when you need it. Usually,
Like
um,
theoretically, you could probably replace Rogue's Passage.
a rogue's passage has won me some game. I mean, it won us a game, or didn't win me a game. It let me knock you out.
Oh wait, no, the Throne of the High Cities here.
Throne of the
That
High Cities is yeah, that's fine. Get rid of it. It's 4 mana sack. You lose a land, become the monarch. Yeah, I would cut that.
like it's gonna be good if you're doing the Aragorn plan, but you should probably just play Aragorn at
Yep,
the turn you want to do that.
exactly. Although I want to put Throne of the High City in my Tormod deck because I like lands going to the graveyard.
Well, that's fine, but that's you're
Well,
you're sacrificing a thing and getting it like and
yeah, Horn
repeating it
of
there potentially.
yeah, Horn of Gondor. Also, it's only a
Yes.
buck 50 right now, and then Horn of the Meek as well. I would highly recommend you pick both of those up. Horn of Gondor
Hmm.
is essentially a Cranko mob boss on an artifact for humans. It's 3 mana, tap it, and you make X11 white human soldiers
Yeah, you know what?
for each human you already control.
You know what card you immediately replace in the deck for that card is Heirloom Blade. While Heirloom Blade is a fun card, it's 3 mana, and you could just why do that when you can have Horn of Gondor?
Oh, I left Heirloom Blade in because your commander's a 5/4 with first strike.
It's true.
I mean, you could definitely cut it. I would if you cut it, I don't think you're wrong to do that. I like it just because I like having that Voltron backup plan. Um,
That's fair.
dearly, yeah, I would cut Dearly Departed, the
Oh yeah,
Gilran. I'm not going to pronounce her name. She's the 3 mana 2/3 that you can pay 2 and flicker something.
yeah,
I cut her. I understand why she's in the deck. She's good because you can have a human enter during your turn. Dearly Departed, I cut. I cut Humble Defector. I just don't think you need card draw on a 2 mana creature like that. Uh, But Horn
Yeah.
of the Meek, I would definitely. Oh, Horn of the Meek also is another 2 mana artifact. Whenever two or more creatures you control attack a player, you look at the top 5 cards. You reveal a creature card from among them, put it into your hand, and the rest on the bottom.
Yeah. It's a very powerful card, and it will just like you're spitting out so many tokens that you just kind of do it.
Yeah, I wish they put Impact Tremors in this deck.
Ooh, Impact Rovers would have been real good.
I think because they just reprinted it in March of the Machines
I don't know if they've.
Commander. Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't remember the symbol. Um, yeah, March of the Machine Commander. They just reprinted it, and I just had another thought, but my cat's crinkling on some paper, and I don't remember what it was. Hold
it's a
on.
shame.
Oh my god, Impact Tremors would be really good. Horn of Gondor. Man, it'll come back to me. I'm pissed. Damn cat. I love you though. Also, Skull Clamp would be good.
Yeah,
Um, to add here. Oh my lord,
like
what was it?
what does it do?
I don't even remember what the thought was.
Oh,
I just,
then I can't help you.
I just absolutely flubbed on what I was talking about.
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a trap card that you shouldn't put in this deck, but is good. It's theoretically good, and if you're playing on Magic Online, do it. If you're not playing on Magic Online, don't do it. You will just get a headache. It's Cathar's Crusade.
Yep.
Don't do it.
It's good, but it's a pain in the butt.
Yeah, everybody groans when you pull out Cathar's Crusade because we're gonna run out of dice.
I remember now. It came back to me. Shadowfax. Put Shadowfax in this deck.
Oh yeah, they have to be shown the meaning of haste.
So Shadowfax is actually really good in this deck because since it's power and not mana value, Shadowfax cheats out, I think, all but a few creatures in the base list. And if you give it one more power, it cheats out pretty much every single creature in the deck.
Yes, it would get everything but Champions of Minas Tirith and Dearly Departed, which we are probably taking out.
I would say cut Duly Departed. Champions is great, and if you give it Shadowfax one more power, it cheats Champions out, it cheats Aragorn out, cheats all the 4 mana stuff out immediately. So it's a you can think of it as pseudo ramp. It comes in tapped and attacking, but it's still
Yeah,
really good.
I mean, yeah, and sometimes that's pretty great as well because if you just like cheat out Aomer,
Yep.
uh, like come Monarch and deals damage equal to any target, yeah, just
Hmm.
like kill a blocker
Yeah.
with somebody.
And the other card I just thought that might be it's not a human card, but I think it would be good in this deck 'cause it's kind of a go wide deck and you make trampling tokens is
Hmm.
Sublime Archangel, giving all your creatures exalted. So then you can just swing in with 1/2/2 trampling haste token that gets, plus whatever. If you have 10 creatures, it gets +10/+10.
I think that's also good if you're doing the Aragorn plan,
Yes.
because then what you can do is just play Aragorn, kill someone with just Aragorn.
Yep. Give it vigilance has vigilance lifelink, gets a huge exalted bonus. Uh
Not
and just
including
cracks
if
in.
you've got like Door of Destinies going or anything else.
Yep, any of the equipment. But Crown of Gondor is also great because
Yeah.
if you're the monarch, it's a 3 mana equipment that gives your creatures +1/+1 for each creature you control.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
And whenever a legendary creature enters the battlefield, if there is no monarch, you become the monarch.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's just a good. It's a almost like a cranial plating for
For creatures.
creatures.
Yeah. Creature plating.
And if you're the monarch, it costs 1 to equip.
Which
Yes,
you're gonna be
yes, please.
because it says if there's no monarch and you just play a legendary creature, you are the monarch, and you have like I've not counted how many monarch cards are in this deck, but it is a monarch deck that just is human focused. There's so many other things. I would definitely put in some of the other courts potentially if you want to lean.
Oh, yep, yeah. You have Court of Ires already in the deck. You have Court of
Oh, you want to put Court of Devotion maybe or something? The white one. You don't want
yeah,
to put in the blue one.
Court of Grace.
Yes. Sorry.
And then Court of Ambition, I think, is the blue one. No, that's black. Court
Yeah,
of
no,
Cunning?
it
Court
would
of
be the Court
Cunning.
of Cunning. I don't know if you'd want to put Court of Cunning in. Um,
Yeah, you just mill people 10 cards each time, which A will put a target on your back, or B help the graveyard decks.
yeah, and Court of Grace. You like if you're going leaning towards more monarchy side of the plan, I would recommend. But if you're trying to just go all in on humans, maybe not.
Yeah. All right, let's switch over to the next deck. The host of Mordor. So this is the Grixis deck,
Oh yeah.
helmed by Sauron, Lord of the Rings. It's a 8 mana 9/9 commander that when you cast it, you amass 5, mill 5 cards, and return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Has trample, and then whenever a commander or an opponent dies, The ring tempts you. What are your thoughts on this one, Wes? I definitely have some thoughts.
So this deck is super weird. It's like a graveyard deck that you're also just consistently amassing cards. So this deck wants to kind of fly under the radar for a little bit and then do some big stuff and potentially kill a lot of people. I think the first game that we played a full pot of this, uh one of our buddies basically dug into his deck, threw it into the graveyard, cast a spell, cast another spell from the graveyard, and killed us all at the same time. And it was kind of just brutal. Also, this deck just kind of has answers to the other decks,
Yeah,
which
I mean,
is
it,
cool.
it's a Grixis deck, so there's gonna be a lot of interaction usually. Some great reprints are Arcane Denial. You have
Hmm.
Has everything else actually
Reanimate.
just Reanimate, thank you. But the other really expensive cards in the deck are all new,
Yeah.
which you'll just see sometimes happen. There's also, it looks like, a cycling kind of sub theme, weirdly enough.
Oh, every deck has some cycling cards. Um,
Does I don't think the human deck has any.
I thought it did. It doesn't have the land cycle, the force
Mm-mm.
cycle, or anything like that. Oh,
They're
maybe it just
at least the human deck doesn't. We will when we go through, we'll check the other ones.
because I
But I think
know the Abzan one does. Um, so but it really makes sense for this one, for the Grixis one, because you're reanimating stuff.
yes,
So
exactly. That's exactly where I was getting. Where it's really good to be able to like just throw big dummies in the yard, and you can
yep,
reanimate them later.
yep. You've also got like Moria Scavenger, which is like you discard a card, you draw a card, and if you discarded a creature, you amass works one. That kind of sums up everything you want to be doing in this deck.
Yep.
Uh, just like you want to throw stuff into the bin and do the thing.
Yes, it's the biggest issue I think I've seen with this deck is it can either become the threat instantly and just take over the table, or
Yeah.
does nothing for 5, 6, 7 turns. Um,
Yeah, this is the kind of deck that that you want to sandbag with, I think, and just like play a normal game and then kind of like go off a little bit and like hold off on how much you're going off, because if you go too strong, you're gonna put everything out onto your board, or like summon a bunch of big dorks, and then somebody's gonna board wipe you. And if you don't hold anything back, then you won't be able to recover. So if you just keep some things, like keep that reanimate in your hand for after a board wipe.
yep, or keep it. Oh no, your commander's a cast trigger, isn't it? When you cast the spell.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the big issue I think I have with this deck is it has like the when you're playing against it, there's that play style of I don't want to pick on you because you're not doing anything, but if I leave
Yes.
you alone, you win. So there's that where you're that like mini game where you're like, okay, well I need to keep you down, but I don't want to just kill you outright. Um,
Yeah, I don't want to commit.
yeah, so it's I like the deck a lot. The games I've played I've played against it. It popped off really early a couple times, and then other times it just did nothing at all.
Like this deck will make you feel powerful.
Yes.
Um,
Um,
I think it is definitely, I think, harder to intuitively do what this deck wants to do than the human deck.
Yeah, because this feels like you could build this as Grixis good stuff, Grixis Reanimator. If you put Saruman the White Hand in the command zone, it becomes a Sharknado for a mass creatures,
Yep.
for your mass token. So you can run that with like Fling and Chandra's Ignition, and there's an enchantment that you can tap a creature, it deals damage equal to its power. So it feels a little inconsistent. I think is my biggest gripe with the deck, but it's still like very fun to play in the pod and like see it do its thing. Just getting to 9 mana or 8 mana in Grixis can be rough sometimes.
Yeah. Although its rocks are really good rocks. Like
Yeah, Salt Monolith is a cheeky include.
Basalt Monolith is real nice to have in there. Just the Relic of Sauron is a gross card.
Yep.
And it's also just good in this deck specifically because you're draw two discarding a card. So you're getting a thing you want in your bin. Uh just like playing a normal game and then setting up to play Sauron to reanimate a thing and get your 5/5 orc uh is kind of nice because it just means like this investment in, but you're getting a 9/9, a 5/5, and if you played your game right, you could be getting an Inferno Titan as like an added card, and that's not even the scariest thing you could get.
Yeah. The it definitely feels a little disorganized as I'm like looking through this list where you have like Gutter Snipe
Yes,
or
that's a takeout.
um I guess that's maybe the biggest one, or the Lord of the Nazgul, where it has this instance and sorcery sub theme where you don't
Yeah,
necessarily want that, or this, not that you don't want that this deck isn't meant for that, or Goblin Dark Dwellers, where there's just like it definitely feels a little bit more disorganized than the other decks.
I think that those are there specifically because they have Saruman there. So if somebody wanted to play Saruman instead of Sauron,
Of course.
uh, and so if you're building that way, by all means build that way, but you're gonna build more into a goblins and army build, or
Yep.
goblins and a mass build. Like that is your goal. While Sauron has the amass tokens to be there to sacrifice in case you don't want to sacrifice one of your big things,
Yep.
and or if you want to sacrifice your big things, you just can. So because like if you want to like re-trigger their ETB or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, you could build Grixis goblins with Saruman and just be like, oh, cool, my goblins have ward too. Just as a
Yeah, and just
great.
like you have your sack outlet and you just cast things to make an amass token to sack it, to cast things to make an amass token to
Yep.
sack it.
Or using Skirk Prospector, so you can sacrifice your goblins to ramp into like spells, non-creature spells that make more goblins, and
Yeah.
those
Well, they don't
non-creature.
make goblins. They
Well,
make
no,
orcs.
I meant with like if you use like Dragon, like Hordeling Outburst, where you use a
Yes.
non-creature spell to make goblins, you would then make an orc
Yep.
off of those the spells that make. So you get an orc off of the non-creature spells that make goblins.
Correct. It gives you a extra body. So if you're doing like not uh not Phyrexian, well, Phyrexian altar would be good, or Ashnod's altar. Like you can just generate some mana with Saruman. I think Saruman, just like with Aragorn, they have a very strong playstyle, but I think it's a different playstyle than this deck.
Yes, yeah, I agree with that.
Um, which I'm fine with. I'm fine with like seeding in those commanders for that because it gives people options when they get a deck where they can just be like, oh, I can take out all the cards that care about instants and sorceries in this deck, bring them over to Saruman, and then like really go into the Reanimator plan for Sauron.
Yes,
Uh,
and then especially if you have ways of, um, what card is it? It not Whirlwind Denial, Remand.
yeah, Remand, Narset's Reversal.
Uh,
Uh,
is not Reversal only instant or sorcery?
ooh, it might be.
It's only instant or sorceries. Um, but if you do something like Remand because it's a cast trigger,
Hmm.
you can cast your commander. So you can cast Sauron. You can remand it if you have enough mana. Get the cast trigger, then put Sauron back in your hand, and then draw a card.
Yes.
So if you want to do some cheeky things like that, you could just do that.
I think that's a good include either way, whether you're doing Sauron or Saruman, because Saruman's thing is also a cast trigger. So you can remand the big like, I mean, heck, if you have Saruman on the field, and oh wait, no, he only cares about non-creature spells, but
Yep.
yeah, I guess once again that kind of non-bows with what you want to do,
Yeah. So
like
I
too greedy, too deep, that kind of stuff.
yep.
You can scare everybody by casting a board wipe and then remanding the board wipe to your hand. Just
Yeah, you
really,
could
really
be
mess with
real
people and
and then die next turn because you showed a board
die
wipe.
next turn.
Yeah,
But where's
great.
the
Um,
fun?
so if I would say if you were upgrading the deck for Sauron specifically and not sticking to Lord of the
Yes.
Rings, Remand might be kind of cute. I don't know if it's good enough, but it's something you can think of. Venser, Shaper, Savant. You do need like a lot of mana for these things, in addition to casting your commander. If you have any like Urza's Incubator or Typal support that reduces the cost, you can play it and name Horror or Avatar, and just reduce the cost of your casting your commander.
Um. Well, for Raban specifically for Sauron, you can also think of it as protection. Because if you play against another blue deck and they go like, "Aha! I'm gonna counter your 8 mana commander," then you remand it back to your hand.
Yep. Yeah, it's
Um.
there's that, there's Venser. I said Hullbreak Horror is the other one because it's a great
Oh
reanimation target.
yeah.
And then B, when you cast a thing, you can just put Sauron back into your hand and do it again. Because at this
Oh,
point you have enough mana to do it already.
that's gross. Actually.
Yep. Baron Talarian Archmage is good. So basically, just ways you want to try to put Sauron back in your hand and then recast it the next turn.
Oh yeah. I think you can also put in the other because we have anger in here. Um. So you can put in. I don't know if Wonder is in here.
It's not good card.
And I don't remember what the black one is called.
Black one is Filth. I think it's Swamp Walk.
Filth.
Yeah, it hasn't been reprinted in a long time. Filth has not
Yeah,
been reprinted since Judgment.
it's only had one printing.
Yep. And as long as
Oh
it's in your
man,
graveyard, creatures you control have Swamp Walk.
yeah. I think those are creatures I would add, just because if you do any more looting or anything like that, I think those are also just important effects to have in this kind of a deck.
Yeah.
Uh, just like because if you have anger and filth or anger and wonder, you might just be able to just like get somebody. Like you only have to hit somebody. Uh, well, if you can bump up Sauron's power at all, you only have to hit somebody like twice if you bump him up 2.
Tainted Strike Baby.
Yeah. God.
Also, Chain or Nightmare Depth would be good because you can, if he dies, you can put him in your graveyard and reanimate him. Or not reanimate him, but cast him from the graveyard. If you just have him in the yard, you can use Felton of the Third Path to make a token copy of it. So you have a hasty 9/9 Trampler that even though you don't get the cast trigger, you still have a 9/9 Trample haste that
Yeah.
people have to deal with. Uh, what else? I'm sure there's some other stuff that we're missing that people will hopefully tell us.
Oh yeah. There's
Release to the Wind is actually so good in here.
mm,
So if you don't,
which one's
if you,
that?
it's from Ixalan, Rivals of Ixalan,
Oh.
and I'm looking on EDH Rec, and it's only showing up in 7% of these decks. I got to show this to Garrett. I think he'll really like this. 2 and a blue instant, exile target non-land permanent. For as long as that card remains exiled, its owner may cast it without paying its mana cost.
Oh, that's gross. So you if somebody goes to do a board wipe and your commander's on the battlefield, you can pay 3 mana, exile your commander on your turn, cast him again, get the triggers again, and just go off.
Yeah. I'm messaging Garrett on Discord right now.
Oh yeah,
That's what he says. Yeah, it's only showing up in 7% of Sauron decks, which is
that's kind of criminal.
upsetting. That seems again, it's Ixalan. No one knows what the hell that set was, so it's not surprising.
I love Ixalan. I'm excited to go back.
Me too. Um, anything else that seems like yeah, so if you can find more effects like that where it's just you may cast it without paying its mana cost, I'm gonna check Scryfall. Is it you or they? May cast.
Owner may cast it without paying its mana cost, is what it says.
It's
But you're gonna get a lot of things that are like removing other people's stuff.
yeah. I just want to see like how many. Okay, so there are 10 cards that have that exact text, but most of it is not.
Not for
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Most of it isn't like great. Turn of Honor shuffles its library. Yeah, that's a draft card. Okay, yeah. So like that's the only like on a quick search that I see that has it.
Yep.
Um,
That's a 50-cent card that people should have for that deck.
yes.
It also is good just in general for some of these cards because you have ETBs. And
Yep.
so just like redoing some of these ETBs is pretty great. Like there's examples like Monstrosity of the Lake, like maybe you had to play it early and you didn't get to do all the stuff. Now you get to do all the stuff. You get to pay your 5 mana, tap all their creatures, then
Yeah.
stun them.
And then there's a card. It actually is one that there's one that's similar. It's called Gale's Redirection from Baldur's Gate. It's a 5 mana instant, so it's definitely
Ooh.
expensive. 3 blue, exile target spell, then roll a d20 and add that spell's mana value. If
Okay.
it's a 1 through 14, you may cast the exiled card for as long as it remains exiled and spend mana as though or mana of any color to cast that spell. If it's a 15 plus, you can just cast it for free. So
Oh,
it has 8. So to get 15, you need to add 7. So you need to roll a 7 or higher. So you have a 13 out of 20 chance to
yeah.
just get it for free. It spells
That's
that this has to be on the stack, so that's what is
very
that?
narrow.
Very narrow and also 13 mana?
Yeah. But you can also like sometimes like I think that's actually just a fun card to have in the deck because you can also steal other people's stuff.
Yes.
And like that's just a very Grixis-y thing.
Yeah.
Just like I'm
There's
just gonna take the thing. And you're already ramping pretty hard. Like I think the other thing I would add for this deck is more like signets and God, they're in the other deck. We just talked about them. Talismans,
yep.
maybe. Like I think I might take out I think I would take out probably Command Sphere for a talisman.
Yes. Yeah, I would do that. Basalt
Uh
Monolith is great. Like you
the
want
Worn Power Stone is good because it just gets you farther and you're trying to get somewhere far. But Commander Sphere, you should probably just put in better draw somewhere else.
yep. Yeah, I agree with that.
Um
They I found another card that kind of does this. It's again, it's 6 mana, it's 3 blue blue blue, so it's like good luck, but spelljacking. You target a spell, if it's countered that way, exile it, and then you may play without paying its mana cost.
Jesus.
So there again, it's very expensive to do that, but it's something to think about when you're
Honestly though, that's like a brew idea where you just play like a very like a passive version of this commander where you're just ramping and like protecting your stuff and looting away and then you cast your commander like 3 times in a turn
yeah.
or something.
I mean, you have High Tide. All these cards are blue, so if you run High Tide and have enough blue mana, it's not. And if you can copy High Tide in any way, reduce the cost of instant and sorceries enough. Like there are definitely ways to do this.
By the way, this is how all weird janky brews start. Where you just go like, what if we just did this weird thing like 8 times?
Yes. Oh,
Just
I need to mention this tool in my article going up this week. MTGassist.com is really good you've
What's that
never
one do, Ben?
so have you used this one before or no?
No, I haven't actually.
Oh, this one's great. So you just put a card in, like you can just search a card, and then it will show you every card similar to that card.
Oh,
So I just put release the winds in, and it shows me every card that's like kind of similar to it.
that's pretty nice.
I don't know how it does it. I don't care. It's just I'll use it for a quick look to find. That's how I found Spelljack
I
and
don't know how it does it, and I
Gale's
don't
redirection.
care. That's perfect. That's modern society right there. I don't know how it works. Don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's I love it. And then delay also is good. Counter target spell. It comes in with three counters on it. Delay like time counters on it, and then you recast it after that time's up. Again, some other way to do that. Um, yeah,
Oh yeah. Well, that's
I
the host of Mordor deck.
yeah. Let's man, what a dumb brew idea. All right, let's move on to the next one because we're 40 minutes in. We've talked about two decks. Um, Elven Council. So this is a Simic Elf voting deck.
Yeah, this
Uh,
is the deck that I think is the weirdest.
yeah, I definitely don't recommend this for new players, and B don't recommend this.
Yeah, I don't quite
That's
know how this like maybe we're just too smooth like in our brains, but I don't know how this deck wins. Like
yeah,
this is the one I don't know how it wins. Because
yeah,
like it has control stuff and it's got some elf stuff, but you're not going hard enough in either direction.
yeah. You really and
Also
uh
like
they put a non-elf mana dork in the deck. They put a literal human shaman in the deck. Uh, I'm sure there's a flavor reason, but yeah, this deck I don't know what you do. I feel like you gut this deck. I feel like you just it's better as either like Simic Elves or because you have Radagast who cares about birds and beasts,
and then you
which
have
is just
Gandalf who cares
weird.
about 5 mana or higher.
Yeah, it's just
They both care
so
about 5 mana
bizarre.
or higher. You put them in their own deck together,
Yep. And then you have Arwen, Weaver of Hope,
which
which is
powerful
great,
card.
which I put in Falco Spara and I love it. But
I think that Arwen's just like strong enough almost as like, oh man, I kind of want to build like a shield deck with her. Just like looter, like put
oh
a bunch
yeah,
of shields on her and just play stupid evasive green creatures.
yeah, mono green big butts is good. Great in Falco because I have some equipment. So like if I gave her a sort of truth and justice, or any equipment really,
Like
sh-
I don't.
and with hardened scales stuff, like if you put counters on her, she's good. It's she, right? Arwen, yes.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Um,
Aragorn's wife.
I thought Arrow. I thought
Nope. Arwen is Aragorn's wife.
oh, who's Eowyn then?
Eowyn is she's the daughter of the King of Rohan.
Oh, okay. I don't know
She
Lord of the Rings.
she she in the movie, I don't know the books as well. In the movie, she has a big thing for Aragorn, but Aragorn's like, "Nah, I'm not about that," because the dude's like 80.
Oh, that's funny.
The dude's like 80, and he's been in love with a different elf woman, like Arwen, for like 30 or more years. I can't remember how many years.
Jeez. I need to watch it eventually. Um, God, this deck just makes no sense. Like Mirkwood Elk is 6 mana, 6/6 Elk. When it enters or attacks, return an elf card from your graveyard to your hand. You gain life equal to its power. Elves, a tribe not known for being big on their own.
Yeah,
Like,
like
what is? I'm curious. I want to see what the actual biggest elf is in Simic colors. I'm sure
like
it's some dumb card we're never gonna play.
I
Green.
feel like this deck has cool decks inside of it, but none of them are together.
So the strongest elf I would suggest you playing is maybe Steel Leaf Champion at 5. There is one from the first Commander Legends. It's a 6 mana 7/4 elf. And there's some other ones that are like elf mutants that are 6/6s and 5/4s, but there really aren't. At most, you're gaining 4 life from a
Yeah.
6. Like, I get it's the recursion that's good there, but it's 6 mana in green to do it, and it just doesn't seem good enough.
And then Colossal Whale, just like as another
Why?
card. It's a really weirdly powerful card, just not in this deck.
It's yeah, it's just I don't know what I don't know what's going on here.
It's
The
like I don't
you
know.
ha
I
I
wish
feel like
this
you
had
have
been a scry deck because like the
yeah.
things in the set that are like scry stuff would have been so cool to just have a home to immediately go to that you could just build.
Yep.
Or like Hornet Queen. Why is Hornet Queen in here? I don't know.
Yeah,
Just
it's just like
like
it's a good green card, I guess. You need ways to
uh
win. Uh, I you have, Raise the Palisade, which is a great card in this deck. It's a one-sided board wipe for, like, Typal decks, which is amazing. But, yeah, this deck feels the most disorganized to me, where you have Elvish Piper, so I'm like, cool, so you can cheat in Colossal Whale or Hornet Queen with Elvish Piper, which is, like, I guess cool, but
yeah.
they're also it's a whale and an insect, so it doesn't even, like, combo with Radagast, Wizard of the Wilds at all. And you want to cast them with Gandalf. So Elvish Piper isn't casting them for free, so you don't get any Gandalf shenanigans. Um, and yeah, it's just such a weird.
Like
Hot. This feels like an old precon. This feels like what they used to do.
yeah. This it's yeah, this one feels a little bit too jumbled, and it also doesn't have ways of like so like Elrond. This is a very powerful magic card. Like you can steal people's creatures or put +1/+1 counters on things you have, but it's only when it ETBs.
Yeah.
But you don't have like I don't know if there's a bunch of repeatable ways in this deck to like ETB him. And you
Uh,
also kind of don't want that in a precon, I
yeah.
guess.
They're good like reprints. You have heroic interventions really good. As we said, Raise the Palisades a good new card. Devastation
Lightning
Tide. I
Greaves.
love seeing Lightning Greaves. Overwhelming Stampede was getting up there a little bit. Genesis Waves, always good to see, like a new like a reprinted that. You get the Battle Bond land, Aestheticism. Like there's some
Like
great reprints in here, but the deck just doesn't feel cohesive in any way. It feels like just Simic good stuff, but there's like 5 or 6 cards, even probably maybe a little more than that, that I'd immediately be like, all right, cool.
like
Gandalf gone, Whale gone, Hornet Queen gone, Radagast gone, Woe's Pathfinder gone, Elk gone, and just throw in some good elves
yeah.
and a distant
Like
melody, and you're happy.
like the for example, like the it's interesting because they have a good like mana rock in this deck for this deck, which is the Model of Unity. Like that's a cool new card for voting. Just like each person that agreed with you gets to scry to. That's a nice incentive to have people vote the thing that you want.
Yep.
Uh like Lignify is a fun aura to throw at somebody.
Yep.
Um
Windsift Slice is cool. Target creature deals damage to equal to its power to target creature you don't control, and you create a
like
bunch of 1/1s for excess damage. That's cool.
Whisper Silk Cloak is in here, but I don't know why. Um because you're not like soloing somebody into them. Like you're not building a big dude.
Yeah, I mean, with Gladriel, unless you're trying to Voltron her up by putting a bunch of count. If you, but you don't want to make her the ring bearer. So you,
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't target. Um, Once the ring bearer is like selected, it just you
yeah.
put those counters so it gets around Whisper Silk Cloak. But yeah, I don't. This deck feels like a hodgepodge to me. Um,
Not that I don't think it can't win, because almost any deck can win, but it's so weird. And I remember being like, I don't know how you're gonna get back. Like we have one of our friends was playing this, Nick, I don't know how you. I was like, I don't know how you're ever gonna win, but you're interacting with the game state because nobody needs to mess with you because I don't know how your deck wins.
Yeah, like you colossal whale and then a hornet queen. Yeah, there's no
Well,
clear.
because they have good spells, like they have Sylvan Offering and like Genesis Wave, and then like if you Sylvan Offering and then raise the Palisade, getting rid of one of your opponent,
Everything.
like everything but the elves that somebody else has. Um, like I think like the first, like you could probably put in what's the, it's the 4 mana triple blue spell, like taps down somebody's board, draws a card.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking
Cla-
about.
Classic Magic card. But I would put stuff in like that maybe, like because you're going wide, but you're not like going huge currently. So you could like tap down people's boards or things like that.
Yeah, I this might be a hot take. I would have rather seen this deck be banned so they
Yeah.
could include all the white cards that help like let you vote more than once.
Yes. I am unsure why they.
'Cause all the other ones are three color.
Yeah, I'm unsure why they stuck to Simic. I think because all the elves are Simic in the set,
Maybe
but
I don't
they
know. I think
could have included other. They didn't have to include any. Uh, well, actually, that's not even true because they could have included the white Gandalf. Although I guess they didn't want to do that because he's a mythic.
yeah, probably not. But if this was a band deck where you have those extra voting cards and then you have some other like interesting elves you can at least put in like in Selesnya colors, either like Rest the Redeemed.
Yeah, Reese the
Um,
Redeemed.
Reese, he's not like they're not expensive anymore. They've been reprinted enough.
Although we discussed this, I don't think they wanted to put anything that had names like with the lands and everything like that as well.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah, everything's
Uh,
kind of generic.
yeah, everything's got a generic-ish name.
Uh,
Um,
but
that's a
aside
reprint.
from that, like there's enough elves in like different in other colors that you could have done a Selesnya elf deck or Bant elf deck,
Yeah,
and it
but
would have been at least a little bit more interesting.
maybe they didn't
Plus,
want to do
you
two
have
go wide decks.
you have
Like,
Aragorn and Arwen Wed. You have Arwen Mortal Queen.
yeah,
So you have
you could have
green
included
white elves.
Aragorn cards because he's like kind of intrinsic to those cards. Like, he could have shown up in 2 decks. Like, because you have the green white one.
Yep. Yeah, I mean,
Um,
unless their concern was like having certain elves names that are like specific to magic in the precons,
yeah,
but
like I
it's the
can
only thing I
understand.
can think.
Like, because they have, yeah, they've got Elvish Mystics, so they didn't want to do like Fintorn elves or uh Llanowar elves.
But they could have done like Moonblessed Cleric, which is like,
That would have been fine, I think.
or Rumor Gatherer. Like they could have done some of these other like cards that these are mono white elves, and then give you the voting cards. But I'm not like super impressed with this out of the box. I think there's some really cool cards in it, but
Yeah,
as a whole, eh, I'm out on it.
it is. I think from looking at it, slightly more expensive than the human deck, but it's just so less cohesive.
Yeah, it's like a buck more like in for like for singles.
Yeah,
Um, but part of that is going to be Lightning Greaves. Swan Song is in here, and then also the Raise the Palisade is $12. What else? Heroic Intervention
I'm
is
gonna send you
another
a
really good
message
one.
real fast.
Who died? Wes, you can't say those things. No, I'm kidding.
I'll type whatever I want.
Um, good call. Also, there's the Rejuvenating Springs is reprinted in here. The Battle Bond land.
Yeah, it's and like Swan Song's great.
Yep.
Heroic Intervention, like it's got a lot of cards that people like,
Yeah.
but
But
I
yeah,
don't know how they click together.
yeah. All right. Well, listen, we can complain about this deck for another probably half an hour and say the same
Yeah,
things. Let's end on a high note.
let's
Well,
end on my
at
favorite
least
deck.
yes. Why don't you take this one since you're more intimate with it or more
So
intimate knowledge of it?
yeah, so we have Food and Fellowship. It is a Abzan food focused deck. Abzan food and also halflings or hobbits specifically. Our commanders are Frodo, adventurous hobbit. Uh, he wants you to gain life, and then when he attacks, he gets tempted by the ring, and if you've gotten tempted twice, you get to draw a card. Or, and partnered with him is Sam, loyal attendant, who's gonna make you a food every turn, and it makes food easier to use. This deck is all about eating. You're gonna just be eating food every turn, uh, and gaining life, and that's just gonna help you like buffer your life total and just let people get through.
Yeah. So there is one thing I really want to mention, and I want to clear this up with the two people that listen to this podcast,
Yeah.
me and Wes. Um, only kidding. The deck. If I hear one more person say this deck doesn't have a win condition, I'm going to Minecraft myself. This
Yeah. This
I've
deck
heard
is
that.
mean.
I've heard that a number of times. Um, so Mirkwood bats, feasting hobbit have trample doesn't matter because it can't be blocked usually.
Yeah.
Mirkwood bats, feasting hobbit, and doesn't it come with?
Oh,
And
it
it
has
comes with Sanguine Bond.
Sanguine Bond, Farmer Cotton,
Oh
who
yeah, that card's a house.
also Gollum, just Gollum obsessed stalker. Talk about a card that will just eat you every turn that you've gained like 12 life.
Yeah.
Uh
So all
best
that.
skulk card ever printed.
Yeah, all that to say, um,
Like this deck
has
doesn't
win
look
conditions.
yeah, this deck doesn't look threatening, as I say in air quotes, because you're just eating food. But every time you eat some food, everybody else gets hurt.
Yeah,
Like, or you're just going like slightly wide enough to pick somebody apart. Now, fair warning, if you are playing this in the pod, your biggest enemy is the Hosts of Mordor deck. Because there is a literal card in the Hosts of Mordor deck that says take control of every creature you have, basically. Called Subjugate the Hobbits. Be warned of that card.
yup. Yeah, that dragon will mess you up. I
Oh,
wish.
it's not a dragon. It's like a 7-mana sorcery that
Oh,
just
the
says
sorcery. I'm sorry. I was looking at something. I I swear I listened to my co-host.
okay. But like, yeah, this deck is all about gaining life and making some dudes. Uh, whether you're
Which
using Frodo and Sam to like, I- when I play Frodo, you either are playing Frodo early in the game and you're using him to draw a little bit, or you're just playing Sam, which is kind of a bummer. Because it's hard to like get Frodo on the board and get him going because there's not as many the ring tempts you cards in this deck. Um, I think if you splash a couple more of those in, which I've been meaning to, I need to get a Call of the Ring. Uh,
yeah, I need one of those.
will just make it to where his ability is going to trigger more, and that's nice. But Sam's ability, if you're focusing on food, and food is one of like with Academy Manufacturer and just like you have Gilded Goose in this deck, and Prize Pig, like you get to just go kind of crazy.
Yeah, the deck is, at least when you've played it. The one time I've played with you in particular with it, it did really well. Like we were chunking you down because you gained a ton of life because I was hitting you repeatedly
Yeah,
for
and then
a
I had like
lot.
50. I would
Yeah,
just be like, oh, I'm back at 40, guys.
I ended up winning because I had a Rogue's Passage with a double striking 10/10
Yep.
that like chunked him for 10. It was a lot. I did a lot of damage by
People
the
had to
end of
work
it.
together to get me out. Like,
Yeah. And that's just true because of how the precons are. They're combat focused, so life gain in a precon environment is really good.
Yeah.
In the wild, you have combos more often, so it's not as huge of it's not as big of a deal. Uh,
Yeah. But I would say that like inversely, people I don't think are as threatened by life gain. And so they take it for granted. Like they aren't as threatened by it in the wild, if that makes
I
any sense.
so you know that meme of like the graph where it's like the new player, the most players, and then like the experienced players. I don't know if I'm explaining myself well.
I got you.
There's like that. I think on like each end, it's like the people who like life gain, and then at the top, it's the one who said, "Oh, who cares about life? It's just a resource." Or it's like, "Oh, who cares? He's gaining life. We can combo him." It's like, yeah, until you get like Aether Fluxed.
Yep.
Uh,
Which is a
you know,
first card pick to put in the deck.
if you're playing this in a more casual pod where you don't have Thoracle combos or like Ballista Heliod or
Here's the thing. Heliod just goes in this deck.
oh, Heliod's great in this deck.
Like
Uh, so is Spike Feeder, Archangel of I don't know if Spike Feeder, Archangel of Thune's great in this deck.
like
Uh,
yeah.
there's something else I forgot. But yeah, no, this deck is really
Like
I think it's
this
really fun.
Scurryoak.
Surya goes infinite with Rosie Cotton.
Yep, and if you're putting Heliod in the deck and you put in any more Soul Sisters, you have another infinite with Scurryoak.
Yep.
Uh and it just like so you can make this deck compete with those decks.
Yeah,
And
you can uh,
that's the wildest thing about this deck.
yeah, Academy Manufactor is really good in here. It was
Hmm.
just reprinted and it's already up to like $10 and it was just reprinted in a precon.
I bought two of them when they
I
were cheap.
I bought one and I got the precon, so I have my two. Um the other is Ter what's his name? Uh Terrigan. Oh my god. Whenever you make a token, you also make a food.
Oh, Paragon took.
Paragon took, thank you.
Yep.
Is really
Yeah.
good because if you're making so if you have like a caddy manufacturer, you're doing the scurry oak thing and you have that, every time you make a squirrel, you also make a food. If you have a caddy manufacturer and that, every time you make a food, you every time you make a squirrel, you make a food, treasure, and clue. So there's a
Yep.
lot of like as you build, like you can iterate on the combo and like add just and I guess like combo enhancers essentially to make it that much better.
Yeah. The easy upgrades for this deck, from my perspective, is I took out a lot of the tree folks and
Birds.
birds that exist. The only tree folks that I left in um were I even took out Woodfall Primus just because it's too expensive.
Yeah.
Um like it's a good card, it's just too much for what this deck wants. And maybe I'm wrong for taking out Gwai here, but I don't care about making a 3/3 bird every turn.
Can I make a suggestion for a card for you to add?
What's up?
Have you heard of the card Blossoming Bog Beast?
I have not heard of Blossoming Bog Beast. What the?
This is from Commander 2021. So this is Strixhaven. It is a 5 mana 3/3. Hold on. Beast. Hold on. Whenever it attacks, you gain 2 life. There's more. Then creatures you control gain trample and plus X until end of turn, where X is the amount of life you've gained this turn.
Oh, yeah. I think that might replace Pony. Maybe. Hold on. Let me double check. Let me see how Pony's worded.
Trample haste. Whenever it attacks, attacking creatures get +1/+1 until end of turn. If a food entered the battlefield under your control this turn, those creatures get an additional +2. So with Blossoming Bog Beast, if you eat one food and attack with it, your creatures get +5/+5 in trample. Because Motivated Pony doesn't give
Oh
them trample.
yeah, it doesn't give them trample. So yeah, that's actually just a strict upgrade.
Almost. Bog Beast doesn't have
Almost.
trample itself, but it gets trample
Uh,
from its own ability,
yeah, and it
and it
doesn't
doesn't have
have haste,
haste.
but that's fine because you
Also,
can
it's
actually.
8. I think I have one of these. It's like $7, $8. Oh, that's expensive.
That's a pretty penny.
And then there's
This,
another card from the same precon. Hold on, because it's from the life gain precon from Strixhaven, the Golgari life gain.
yeah.
There's another card that I also really like.
Oh, the other thing
Um,
that makes this deck pretty nice is, unlike the other ones, except for the Riders deck shares this with the food deck. It is easier to use cards that exist, if that makes any sense. There's a bunch of life gain decks that already exist, so you can
yes.
learn from them, or you can take cards from them, as we're learning right now,
Yeah.
or as I'm learning right now, where you can just be like, "Oh, this card existed, and it was okay then because it didn't have this much
Yep.
stuff."
Also, just Chatterfang's good. You just make
Yeah.
squirrels from your food. Just there's another card that I
Oh, Anointed
love.
Procession, by the way, just the
Care the Lives,
casually.
Anointed Procession, Doubles in Season, Primal Vigor.
Yeah. I only have one of them, but I only need one of them.
What? Hold on. I'm trying to find. There's another card. I thought it was enchantment, but it might be a creature.
Other cards that I took out of this deck while you're thinking, I took out Call for Unity,
Okay,
um, because it's too slow.
that
It
is fair.
in it was good in the game that I played it in, but I think that's just confirmation bias of
Yeah.
just like, oh, I sat around for 3 turns and it cracked the food every turn, so now my things have +3/+3, and that's nice. But it also made me a target.
Yep.
Like,
Oh, I found it.
hmm,
Um, Trudge Garden. It's a 3 mana enchantment, and whenever you gain life, you may pay 2. And if you do, you create a 4/4 green fungus beast creature token with trample.
what? Let me just
Hold on,
garden.
I'll send you an image.
I found it. You have to pay 2 to do it.
You do have to pay 2, but it's a 4/4. So if you have nothing else going on and you just have 2 mana at the end of the like you can just, do it.
Yeah, there's a card from the set that's actually also pretty good. Um, that is good specifically because you want to at least maybe add a couple more Ring Tempts You cards to this deck, which is Shortcut to Mushrooms. It's a 2 mana enchantment when it ATBs. The Ring Tempts You, so that
Mhm.
gets your first Ring Tempt out of the way. Um, for Frodo, it does share a mana cost with him, but that's okay. And then at the beginning of your end step, if a permanent you control left the battlefield this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's simple. You're eating a food every turn. That's fine. Another good card that I don't believe is in the deck. But let me double check. Is Many Partings.
Yes.
Which is also from the set. Which is just gonna get you a basic land on turn 1. If you don't got a mana dork in your hand, it's great.
Yep.
Uh, it'll fix you for that
It's
next
a good
turn,
card.
and it'll get you that first food that you need.
Uh, Also, you can look at Ezroot Channeler.
Mm.
If do you know what that one is?
I don't remember 100%. I was gonna go like look for it because I was like,
It
I
is
think I remember. Oh,
EZZAROOT.
creatures you can creature spells you cast cost X less to cast, where X is the amount of life you gained this turn, and then you can tap 2 to gain 2 life. That's a tree folk worth running.
Yeah. So think of it like with Farmer Cotton. So you crack a treasure. You're netting 1 mana essentially for creatures. So
Yeah.
every treasure you crack is essentially 3 creature mana. So with Farmer Cotton, if you eat 2 treasures, so you put 4 mana, you get 6 life. You cast Farmer Cotton, X is equal to 6.
Oh, it's actually even better than that. By the way, if you have Sam out, you're cracking food for 1.
Oh, yep.
So every 1 mana is netting you 3 mana, or every 1 mana nets you 2 mana, basically. Because the mana that you're paying into it is uh
Yeah.
one of them is negating itself, but that's fine.
Yep. So there's definitely some look at the Strixhaven Golgari life gain precon. You might find some really cool cards in there that you want to add to this deck that are just good life gain cards.
Yeah, I might replace
Um,
some of the Soul Sisters that I have in.
there's a great board
Like 1
wipe
or 2.
called Essence Pulse.
Oh,
Uh,
oh.
it's 4 mana, 3 and a black sorcery. You gain 2 life, and then each creature gets -X until end of turn, where X the amount of life you've gained this turn.
Uh,
So obviously it'll like hurt you, but if you need a board wipe and you just you're dead on board, you crack a bunch of treasures, gain a bunch of life, and then do that. Uh, it's almost a reverse Toxic Deluge.
Yeah, that might replace Fell the Mighty. Maybe. Actually, I don't know.
You
The
had the issue with
border.
Fell the Mighty against my human deck because it's all of my creatures are exactly 2.
Yeah, so it's just like, oh,
Tier
I guess
1.
I pick Ferodo?
Oh no, it was Dusk Dawn. That was the one you were having issues with because all of my creatures were power 2 at the time.
Yeah, because you're playing Ratadrabic.
Oh, it was Ratadrabic. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, you're playing Ratadrabic, and I just couldn't board wipe away.
Kill anything.
Like, I was like, oh, the one board wipe in my deck that doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, you've Accomplished Alchemist, which is just a 4-mana dork. You add X men of any one color or X men of life you've gained this turn. So you can put, you can, if you gain a bunch of life, you can spend a bunch of mana and crack more food. These are all just like Golgari cards. I'm not even looking at the Selesnya, which is the Moors is probably fine in that deck.
Yes, I was thinking about moving her over there.
What else do we got? Any like cool enchantments? Trunge Garden we've talked about.
Like, oh, and you can just put
Yeah.
Exquisite Blood in this deck.
Yep.
I'm not going to. It's too. I've done that combo enough in my lifetime. That's how I started playing Magic. I cracked that combo in packs and just owned the cards. So I did that early on in my Magic career. I don't need to continue doing it.
Yeah. That is fair. But yeah, so I think if you're building this deck, you have a lot of options with the life gain. You can go Aether Flux, you can go combo. I personally want to build Bilbo Birthday Celebrant, and I want to use Soul Sisters because you gain that much life +1, so you want a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of incidental life gain. That
Yeah.
or I want to take Gwahir, Greatest of the Eagles, and build mono white life gain and do like a Crested Sunmare deck where you get payoffs for gaining life.
Oh yeah.
But I think that wraps up the precons. All in all, I think we're both really happy with them.
Yeah, I think these were really well designed. They're super flavorful if you know the source material. Overall, Lord of the Rings has been a win if you like Lord of the Rings, and like Ben, for example, who just said in this podcast, "Man, I gotta watch those movies," or he now wants to engage with that content, and he did not really need to before or want to.
Yep.
So overall
Correct.
success. Good job, Wizards.
10 out of 10.
I give you a 9 out of 10. Could be better.
Elf
Always,
Precon really bringing it down.
yeah.
So a bit of breaking news before we wrap
Yes.
up this podcast because I'm definitely working a little late tonight.
Yep. We've
Oops.
got a live update,
We
as
have a
it
lot.
were.
So spoilers for Commander Masters. Oh, hold on. Spoiler alert. If you don't want to be spoiled, leave.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. Give it a like, all that jazz. If you're still here, I appreciate you.
Maybe come
Yeah,
back around when you do want spoilers.
yes. I am scrolling through my Discord for Commander's Herald, and they had all the pictures in one spot, but I can't find it now.
Oh yeah, I'm just on the game store spoiler
Let
chat.
me. Oh, everyone post a bunch of stuff there.
Yeah, there's a spoiler section in there that just auto fills.
Oh, I was looking at this before. Great. Um, yeah. So first, I don't care about Thelwar Stone, and I don't care about Extinguish All Hope.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. Don't care about those.
First out of the. I'm sorry. You can kick this one off.
I was just gonna say the 5 medallions getting reprinted is
Thank God. At rare,
at
as
rare.
God intended.
Mono players be blessed.
Yeah, I have Ruby Medallion from Neheb, and it's I want the other ones for decks, but I just can't justify spending $30 on them.
I have a jet medallion. I also have a pearl medallion, I think.
Some of them haven't been reprinted since Tempest. Is that not
No,
true? No, they
they
were
all
printed in
got
the
printed.
precons that one
Yep,
time.
yep.
That's
So
right.
I'm excited for that. I also kind of like the special
Kozilek,
showcasey art.
Kozilek, the Great Distortions reprinted at Mythic.
Ugh.
Love that artwork on him.
Oh yeah, the special art, the full
Yeah,
art.
that's so cool.
I dig it.
Chainer Dementia Master, don't really care.
Yeah,
Card
whatever.
wasn't expensive. Um,
I
Fellware Stone. Let's see
I
what's
hope they're just
next.
having foil etched be like the Commander Legends thing and just let that stay
Yeah,
there.
I love foil etched. Cranko reprint is fine.
As-
Azusa Lost But Seeking is also a pretty good reprint.
Oh,
Like,
that
she's not too expensive
borderless
now.
slash extended art. It's just where it's just like a closer up image of her. That's so
I
beautiful.
hot take. I don't like it. I don't like any of the ones that I've seen for that. That's just me. I appreciate them. I just don't like them.
I just like extended arts.
I do. There's just nothing going on in the background. I don't like how it's just green.
That's fair, I guess.
Carador Ghost Chieftain. That's a good. I mean, it's a fine reprint. Same thing with Maelstrom Wanderer.
Yeah.
Good. I love that borderless Maelstrom though. That's cool.
Yeah.
Land Tax reprint. Always a good reprint to get.
Mythic's kind of annoying, but also understandable.
It's for draft probably.
Yeah.
Evacuation. Another good reprint. Spellseeker is a much needed reprint.
Ooh, I also
Card
like that
is
art.
so
Borderless.
expensive. Yeah, reminds me of like Strixhaven.
Yeah, it is Strixhaven, I think.
I thought, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, because how much is Spellseeker up to? $23.
Too much. Thanks, Canlander players.
Um, we got Wayward Swordtooth, which was also creeping up there because it only been
Yep.
printed one time. Was $9.
He's a good dino boy.
He's gonna drop like $2.
And Regal Behemoth, a card that I need.
A card that is also dumb expensive.
Ooh, I also like the borderless on that. I'm a sucker for borderless.
Yeah, Regal Behemoth is $10
Yep.
because only ever been printed once.
That's a card I want to hit off of Geshath Trigger.
Yep, Omnath Locus of Mana reprint's cool.
Mm-hmm.
We got some Mark Pool lands coming out. Those are gorgeous.
Yeah, some
And
reprints
Rebecca
of
Gay
that.
lands, more
Ooh,
importantly.
yo, I love that swamp. The like
Uh,
moonlit swamp. Oh,
yeah, and then
what?
Alana Daner lands. I don't know that
Yeah,
artist, but they're gorgeous. All old border, by the way. All these lands are old border lands.
yeah. That's your breaking news.
Yeah. Oh, hold on. There's more.
But wait, there's more.
Sol Ring don't care. Command Tower don't care.
Oh yeah,
Arcane Signet don't care. Path of Ancestry don't care. I lied. The borderless on all of them are gorgeous.
yeah. The only one I don't really care about is the command tower borderless.
I love the Command Tower borderless.
I don't
It
really
reminds me of
care for it.
World of Warcraft in the expand what expansion was it? There's one expansion where you go into the ground, into the Maelstrom. Cataclysm. I think it was Cataclysm.
Yeah, that
Or
could be.
Warlords.
I can imagine World of Warcraft having a crossover with Magic. I could imagine it.
Oh, I love that Arcane Signet. Have you look at the flavor text on it?
Uh, Matic had only taken the ring to appease his grandmother when she'd pressed it incessantly into his palm. As the rats scurried away from the light, he understood her urgency.
Just flavor text. I don't know. I just love that. Path of Ancestry slivers. Of course, it's slivers in the middle. I'm pissed.
What?
See
You don't like
sliver.
that?
You see some dragons. You see an elephant. Elephant tribal wizards. You heard it here, folk. You heard it here first. Elephant tribal confirmed.
I would so love that.
But that's it for the podcast. Thank you for listening. Again, if you can give this just a like wherever you're listening to it. Try that again. Give this a like wherever you're listening to the podcast. It really helps out. Go back, listen to some old episodes. I interviewed Bosch and Roll and Joe Cherries, formerly of the Nitpicking Nerds, in my last two episodes. I'm hopefully trying to interview a few more people. They've emailed me back, some of them, and I've emailed them back, and I'm waiting to hear, or some I've reached out to the first time. So hopefully, we'll have some more guests for interviews.
Yeah.
But Wes, where can everyone find you if they're looking for you?
Ooh, if they're looking for me, I don't know what they're doing. But I am Axel Explode on every platform. And I'll probably be in the comments of the YouTube channel saying hi.
He's usually there. You can find me at youtube.com/@BRBMTG, twitter.com/@BathroomMTG. My Patreon is patreon.com/BathroomBrewsMTG. And you can find me writing over at the Commander's Herald under my actual moniker, my actual real life name, which I won't tell you. But I write all the budget decks, so it should be pretty easy for you to find out. Um, and with that, thanks for watching. And as man, I'll eventually get this outro right. I'm not editing this. You just have to deal with me being bad at this for the first like 15, 20 episodes. As
Hey, it's
always,
learning.
as always, this has been Ben with Bathroom Brews MTG. And remember, always wash your hands.